All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. We're so pleased. This is our first time doing an event kind of like this, so I'm so pleased with the turnout. My name is Becca Troutman. My job this morning is to welcome you all here, so thank you for coming. I definitely want to give a shout out to Davey and Anna Burns, who also helped us host this here today. So Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners is an organization. Has anybody heard of Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners? Hopefully a few of you. Okay, great. So most of you at least heard of us. We focus on revitalizing the Tinkers Creek and Brandywine Creek watersheds. And I think one of our strong suits is education, which is kind of why we're all here today. I think one of the questions I often get is, what can we do about the environment? How can we help? And I think one of the most important things is just listening and learning. And I think that's why we're here this morning. So thank you all for being here. With that, I think I will turn it over to our director, Erica, and get our morning kicked off. So thank you all for being here.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We are so grateful to Becca for giving us a little kickoff there, and to Anna and Davey for helping to make this happen here at this beautiful Seed campus. Those of you that are lucky enough will get to do a tour if you signed up at the end of the talk today at around noon. But if not, maybe there'll be other opportunities, Anna, where tours may or may not be able to happen, but you can enjoy it. You heard it here first. So, but it's really wonderful to see this room filled with people that care so much about the environment and healthy water and protecting land and biodiversity here. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit quickly about our experience with how we ended up getting these fellows to join us here at Tinkers Creek and to really think about what we're doing here. So we first started talking about hosting an international symposium. It really just came out of a simple idea. We kept talking about how the work that we do really connects across borders, and we have similar work, we have similar ideals, but we work in different landscapes, we work in different challenges, different cultures, but we really have that same drive to protect the places that we call home. So even though our regions may look different on a map, they share a lot of the same challenges, and we have a lot of the same responsibilities. So the seed of this idea really grew into the talks that you're here to see today. So, of course, the other piece of this is that we were lucky enough to have two international fellows join our office from the U.S. State Department's Community Solutions Program that's with IREX, which I will never remember what the acronym stands for, IREX, but you can Google it. And, or maybe, do you know offhand, Jim or Joe? No. Google it. But it's an incredible program. It kind of is like an exchange program, but just one way. And so it brings people from other parts of the world together here in the United States to learn about the work that we do and for us to learn from them. And so both of them are incredible mid-level professionals who came to us with tons of experience and knowledge and perspective. And they're here to develop a program that's a community solutions program that they can take back home. And so then the impact will hopefully carry forward into the work that they continue to do in their communities. And that also, whether they intended it or not, has really helped us as an organization. So having two people from very different parts of the world, a tropical island literally on the other side of the earth, and Costa Rica, which is the most biodiverse place in the entire world, really has brought perspective to the work that we do. And when they first came here, and I've told the story before, I thought, oh my gosh, they're coming to Ohio. We all have a chip on our shoulder. Like, they're not going to be happy. Like, compared to the biodiversity and the incredible, places that they come from, Ohio is going to seem boring. But it's really surprised me how much perspective they've brought to just our experience here. And Jim going outside and getting bug macro pictures everywhere, and Joe just experiencing like American culture and talking about his experience back home and learning, the similarities we have in how we value community and connectedness, but also at the same time how different things are. And so it's been incredible to have them here, and it's enriched our lives and our work at Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners so much. And I hope to share a little bit of that with you today through being able to listen to their stories and presentations. And then at the end, of course, the panel as well. And so we thought the only thing that would make this more interesting, besides just having them talk, was to have a panel where we could have some experts from here also contribute to that conversation, thinking through the value of environmental stewardship and really that cross partnership collaboration and what that does and how we can continue to work on that. And so we have a panel at the end that will have Elaine Marsh from Summit Metro Parks, who is illustrious and like a legend. And then we will have Katie Stuble, who is from Holden Forests Gardens, I was like, oh, there you are, who is an incredible researcher. And I'm so excited to learn more about what she's going to bring and share with us here today. And so I think this is going to be a really impactful opportunity for everybody today. And I really hope that you get as much out of it as I think I'm going to. I just want to check my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. So really, we're just so grateful that everybody's here to be a part of this conversation. And I hope this is kind of the opening foray into us continuing to build bridges to make our environmental work stronger together. And so with that, it's my pleasure to turn things over to our first keynote speaker. Our first speaker will be Jim Córdoba-Alfaro. He's the founder of two nonprofits, the BioServe Foundation in Costa Rica and Lands for Biodiversity here in the United States. He has worked to protect more than 700 acres in Costa Rica, including the Rio Nuevo Nature Center. He's developed innovative conservation models. He's discovered more than 30 new insect species and documented several new mammal species in Costa Rica. And he's had a global impact. He's worked with lots of other, very high level groups. And he continues to bridge science and society, promoting conservation and models that are really inclusive, educational, and community driven. So we're really excited to have Jim here today. So with that, I will take it and pass it on to Jim. Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, everybody, for stay here and share this opportunity. This is a big honor. Literally, we are living a whole dream in the United States, and my only purpose is to inspire you to protect even more what we have here. And also, I want to share my reality, where we are coming, because it's really different. But also, I've been learning through my stay here that nature doesn't know frontiers. We need to mimic nature. So the birds that we have here ended up in Costa Rica, right in that jungle too. So I think we need to learn from that, how we can protect species that share international frontiers, like the great blue herons, ospreys, and many other ones. They are here, but they spend summer in our lands. So my name is Jim Cordova, or you can call me Jungle Jim. Since basically, I remember, let's see. Oh, sorry. So since I remember, I've been in love with nature. So since my 9 years old, I created a bug collection that brought me to discover that Costa Rica has a huge diversity. Just in my backyard in San Jose, I grew up in the capital of Costa Rica. I found like 50 species just in my garden. And it's like, wow, so there are animals related with plants, and there is a relationship between those animals with the plants. And for each butterfly that was found in my backyard, I was discovering that each of them, they have a unique host plant. So it is like, oh, how is that works, and understand the life cycle of insects and go and see the, from an egg, from a caterpillar, and then transform into a pupa stage. And it's like, wow, it's like that ugly caterpillar become that beautiful butterfly. And so that brought me into this journey that today I'm here is standing in front of you. So I become a tour guide for discover even more deeper into Costa Rica, the national parks. So I ended up into that place that is called Osa Peninsula. after working with the National Collections of Costa Rica. So I was first working in the museums, working, for preparing the specimens for the collections, doing taxidermy, all that kind of stuff when I was living and studying in that moment. And then after basically I complete my first studies in tropical biology and also in, natural resources management, I ended up like also studying tourism for work in the national parks. So I started guiding people, practicing my English, sharing everybody, what is inside of the nature, and sharing my passion with thousands of people from all over the world. So, oh, sorry. So that brought me to see the problems from my community, and see what is going on with the tropical and wilderness parts of Costa Rica as well. And so after seeing pumas, anteaters, tapirs, spider monkeys, and the most probably endangered species that survive on that part of the planet, it's like, wow, this is so magical. It's like, wow, this is so beautiful. I've been learning so much. I discover, as Erica was mentioning, like over 30 new species for science so far. And actually, I'm going to share another manuscript with almost 20 species more new for science. And it's like, I can spend entirely all my life discovering what is here inside. But on the other side, I have seen as well how the rainforests keep disappearing day by day in our region and what is happening in Costa Rica. But the point of this is that we can learn from those experiences, how we can enhance our crops, how we can enhance our community. So that is why I ended up creating Biosphere Foundation and Lands for Biological Diversity, with the purpose that we can create a legacy, that we can secure the protection, but also to enhance the well-being of the local people that are living around there. So this is a legacy, what I'm building. I'm trying to give back what we took to Mother Earth away from her. So that sometimes, this is the only moment that we're going to have for restore our planet. More than ever, the situation is that we cannot lose time. So I create those structures for we can help channel, possibilities that helps to restore the tropical rainforest. So some of the pillars of Biosphere and Lands for Biological Diversity is conservation of biodiversity and ecosystems. So we protect basically pieces of land in Costa Rica. So far, we have 3 big pieces of land in Osa Peninsula and also in the Central Pacific of Costa Rica. So we protect the habitats of spider monkeys, tapirs, jaguars, and toucans, macaws. It's incredible. But also, sorry, we do a lot of community empowerment. We're trying to change the mind of the people there. We're trying to teach that it's better to preserve the rainforest than cut down and put palm oil. So we discover so many things like Bainella orchids. So the beans of Bainella are super expensive. We have 8 species right inside of that jungle. People didn't know about it. So they were cutting down the jungle, for fine resources that they can use, but actually in a small hectares, or, they can develop what actually a large plantation of palm oil is doing, just developing a Bainella crop, which is our native species. So sharing that there are many things to learn from the rainforest is how we can develop the economy, of our region too. Environmental education, so I teach people and from our local community. I'm basically also help researchers, and I'm trying to bring researchers down to keep studying the rainforest. Ecotourism as well, so we create a whole park with universal trails for people from all ages. They can go and explore inside of the rainforest and many other things. So this is basically the first main projects that we have. So Rio Nuevo Nature Reserve, so far we protect 700 acres of rainforest. I want to say this all begins with just one idea of help to protect nature. Without fundings, without basically, nothing more than just a dream. Since that, I've been able to convince many people, and little by little, I start building this idea, and now it's becoming true. And well, now it's true. Insectopia, that collection that I started since my 9 years old, turns into a museum center. So now today, people from all over the world and our local community have the possibility to learn and discover more deeply what is inside of the rainforest. Ambiosa is a cosmetic product company that empower local women in the Osa Peninsula through the protection of stingless bees, essential for the conservation of the tropical rainforest too. That is why, oh, sorry. That is why, what is sustainability? What comes in your mind? How we can enhance and bring back nature, not just in Costa Rica, also in your own communities. You know, there are a lot of grass that we need to transform into beautiful flowers. You know, we need to start removing pavement and, you know, and concrete from areas like this here too, to make everything more greener. We need to bring back nature. We cannot accomplish basically sustainability if we concept that our progress is this. So, so now, however, you know, the situation and how communities they concept that those words is completely different, and probably you're thinking now. I'm coming from the Osa Peninsula, so basically is that region in the southern Pacific of Costa Rica. This is basically the last place to be colonized in our country. It's the wilderness part of our country. So we estimate that almost 3% of the world's biodiversity is here. So it's like compress entire biodiversity of United States into probably just a corner of Ohio. So, you know, so it's a small dot on the map, but it's really important for the entire planet. So the communities here has been basically living on these conditions, seeing macaws every single day, seeing toucans every day, but they've been struggling. And that is why human rights and protection of the environment is really, both things are really tight and connected. Oh. So here is my place. So you can see is where the tropical rainforest meets the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. We have that beautiful lush, intact rainforest areas. You know, we have incredible coral reefs, mangroves, even cloud forests with oak trees on top of the mountains here. But on the beach, you can find coconuts. We have really enigmatic mammals like the tapir. This is the largest mammal of tropical America. Is the gardener of the rainforest, in charge to disperse seeds throughout the rainforest. I don't know if somebody can recognize this guy. This is the Tamandua anteater. Tamandua anteater is another one of the funky animals that we have in the rainforest. Really specialized to eat the termites, you know, so we have a huge diversity that is around there. And throughout all this presentation, you will see more animals. But the most important that we can do for preserve that biodiversity is to share that passion with others. As a leaders, we need to make others to believe in what we love to do, and share that with your team and others inside of your community is really important. And so what I can see here is beautiful. There is entire community interested in conservation today, but their realities is different, you know, and sometimes people destroy nature because they really struggle, not because they want. So my team, it's composed by professional people. So I have basically Edier, that is the first guy on the right. Edier is anthropologist. He's an educator, also has a degree as a professor. And so he's in charge of all the social parts of Biosphere. Wendy basically is more in charge of the agronomic part. So she has a degree in agronomy. And so now she's working with farmers as well in our local community. And the two guys that you can see there with green t-shirts are basically the persons in charge of our protected areas. So they used to be poachers, gold miners, and loggers. So the people that actually I'm working against, in one point, people will say that, and literally they have the skills that I require for navigate and get into the deepest part of the jungle. So, and it's like, this is the people that I need in the jungle. So I start, hiring local people, that used to be like them, for work and help me to protect the rainforest. Literally, now they are the most passionate persons ever. When they see something cool, they are like calling me. It's like, Jen, you need to see this. So, in this order, we promote as well jobs in our community. Through the Museum Center has been like a hub for basically researchers, for our local community, tour guides, and many people to learn about what is hidden inside of the rainforest. So over 80% of the insect diversity of Costa Rica, they don't have a scientific name. Until we start understanding our natural world, we're going to start appreciating what we have and how we can really secure the protection of everything. The keystone species of the rainforest, somebody know what it is? Of this rainforest that I've been showing to you today. The keystone species is the most important animal or creature or living thing that we have in that rainforest. Basically, without this bug, we don't exist, or nothing that is inside of this rainforest will exist. And I'm talking about that is an insect that is basically 2 millimeters size. So it's almost a microscopic wasp that pollinate the most important trees. That are the ficus trees that feed the entire biodiversity there. So, how we can preserve tiny things like that people don't even care, So that is why it's really important to navigate and go deeply to understand that. But the most important as well is bring education, share that with many other people, young people especially, that wants to keep going with this background in nature, but also in general, we do that. We're trying to promote education to everybody, develop skills, possibilities, that connect the rainforest with our skills and create new professionals in the region that wants to transform the entire place. So our environmental education programs start with kids. So we work with the local communities in the Osa Peninsula. I'm talking about that, we get around 50 students every single weekend, and we go to our place, we bring them to the reserve, we bring them to the museums, we go to their schools. We do reforestation with them. We're trying to protect our watersheds. That is something that has been really inspiring coming from Tinker Creek that I'm going to talk a little bit later. And probably you think Costa Rica is just doing great. Many people think about that. We are the less worst country in conservation. However, it's true. We've been able to restore and bring back nature. So this has been really inspiring. So here we can see that throughout the years, Costa Rica has been actually growing back our rainforests. So, and that is something that I want to inspire you. So probably our actions takes time to see the real impact and to see the entire picture of that. But keeps going because I can see that also nature is growing back here and is blooming here as well. One of the major challenges that we are facing as Costa Rica is the high fragmentation that we have throughout all our park systems. So it's still the government of Costa Rica haven't solved this. So the high fragmentation is what is creating that the population get isolated, and eventually that create mutations into the species, and then little by little they start disappearing. So basically what we are doing is creating biological corridors in the Osa Peninsula for connect unprotected of forest and create those biological corridors. People don't believe sometimes that we can bring back nature in less than 30 years. And literally from cattle fields, where it used to be just grass, we can bring back again a really lush rainforest. So I want to show you, this is where it's the national park, the most visited area of inside of the Oscar Peninsula. So today, over 78 people come, 1,000 people, 78,000 people come visit that spot inside of the national park. Because you can see taters, you can see spider monkeys, you can see the most endangered species. So it's incredible. And today, after 40 years, the place looks like this. So rainforests and areas that we are, because they absorb so much sun throughout the year, our rainforest can absorb high levels of CO2, but also can regenerate faster than many other ecosystems too. So that means that we can really bring back nature, but also we can clean the atmosphere, bring back those crazy gases that we have in the atmosphere and store it into the ecosystems, but also preserving the biodiversity that hold us. The rainforest is the cloud factory of our planet. So the clouds that you can see are coming from far away, and especially from tropical areas like Costa Rica or the Solomon Islands. So this lack of water that we are facing in areas like here is because we are destroying this ecosystem faster than any other one on the planet. And our trees are bigger than, are enormous. So it's like literally entire building pumping water to the sky. So when you cut down that, we break those, fragile balance in nature that we can face. We can feel it now. This is our protected area. This is where our legacy for all of you, literally. Hopefully you can end up working with us. In a historical way, we've been pointing the local community as the responsible of the destruction of what is happening in the region. Many of them are gold miners, so they go to the rivers, they live inside of shelters, it's not even a house, a shelter inside of the jungle, and they go and they start doing gold mining, they start panning in the river. So the government has been basically chasing them for over 50 years in the region, without any exorcism. So basically, still, this is a long-term conflict that we have in the community since the government created the protected area. Nevertheless, we are not pointing the major threats of the region. The real threats of the OSA and Costa Rica are those two crops so far. So we have pineapple. The pineapple is 2% of the Costa Rican surface. Is basically Costa Rica consume more pesticides than in basically 10 times more than Germany, for example. So Costa Rica is the country that consume more pesticides than any other country on the planet today. Many of those pesticides are not allowed to be used in Europe or in the United States, but we send you guys the fruits that you guys can eat. So they use really high chemicals that go beyond into nature, go underground, go into the air. And this is affecting even the pigmentation colors of the monkeys. The monkeys are turning orange. They're black. And could be this is related with with the pineapple crops. Another problem is with the palm oil crops. They require a high nutrients. The soil that we have in their area are really poor. It's just clay. So, so they require a lot of nutrients. And when they fertilize the crops, all that runs into the creeks, ended up into the ocean, creating what we think they create is the red tides. This is a kind of microalgae, that it literally is killing the coral reefs in the region, and is putting under threats, even largest animals like the humpback whales that come here. The Golfo Dulce, that is basically this Costa Rica. This is it's called like the blue Serengeti planet. So we have over 22 different species of dolphins and whales basically coming to reproduce there. It's like a giant swimming pool. So now with Tinker Creek, I got inspired for bring their knowledge and actually even copy that beautiful system that they have for I can enhance the protections of the rivers that we have there and how those crops right to the edge of the river, it's basically polluting our future. Since pineapple crops got into Costa Rica, we brought to the decline over 60%, 40% of the biomass of insects. So far is what we see. Probably this is the animal group that is facing annihilation more than any other group. It's disappearing faster than any other animal group, I want to say. And because there are many issues with the conservation of insects, so habitat loss, as we can see, pesticides, climate change, those extreme weather conditions are between droughts and floods, is annihilating their populations too. Light pollution, in cities can become a problem. Invasive species as well can become a problem. We are losing our biodiversity, scientists are mentioning that we are in the middle of the sixth mass extinction of our planet. More than ever, species are disappearing faster across the globe. But for understand this, we are creating studies with AI. So that means that the forest, our rainforest, which is noisy, everything is scream, is getting more quiet and quiet too. So seeing those changes through the time, we're going to estimate how fast biodiversity is collapsing, but also how long we have with all of them on this planet. Challenges still keeps happening. Governments wants to keep developing roads, going through access to the rainforest, but through using AI, using the bioacoustics to understand the biodiversity, we brought basically a whole study with the spider monkeys. So we put over 400 machines to record the species for 2 years, through all the entire peninsula. The machine recognized that the monkey can scream 13 different types of screams. So, and the machine can recognize that. We train the machines to basically listen all the information and data that we collect, and through that create a distribution map of the spider monkey. And the results are actually really shocking. The problem with the road development, it's a huge problem in the conservation of this species. So we found that there are not a spider monkey 5 kilometers around where is a paved roads. We put that into the news from all over the planet for basically tell to the people that we can face now probably the extinction of this monkey in our region if the government will pave the roads for enhanced tourism in the region. Since they've been paving the roads, sorry for sharing this, this is my reality and my work. I'm start facing this situation even more. So today I'm trying to also bring help to create mitigation process for create bridges. We can start, funding bridges for we can create the connectivity that they require and avoid this. Sorry, one of our largest problem in the rainforest is the huge logging that we are facing. Not just about crops or logging companies or oil companies or mining companies. Today, one of the major threats that we are facing is gentrification in Costa Rica. This is really sad because that brings that development, electricity cables going through the jungle. They are not isolated, so you know what is going to happen. But also they are clearing the rainforest for make golf courts and stuff like that. So this is basically what is happening now in our country, and why I feel desperate for protect land more than ever, especially those pieces of rainforest that are completely unprotected and basically now companies and corporations can get it and and destroy it. And so this is, I can show you thousands of pictures like this today of what is happening. But every day we create an impact. We are part of this scope and emission system. So what we do, how we move, what we eat, what we wear, is how we impact our planet. So every single day that you live, we leave something behind. Could be good or could be bad. We decide, you know, until we don't understand that this is a chemical effect, what is happening in the atmosphere, that is easy to solve. It's easy. We understand, we have addressed the problem. We understand now how we can reduce that we get into the 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is essential. We cannot, after this, we cannot concept civilization as we know today. And the most important is to commit that rich group of people and bring money into conservation. So this is why we need to make those political changes for we can secure our work, what we are doing, but the most important, we can restore our planet, which is possible. And the most important is what we do every single day and what we eat is how we build it up this entire picture of what we are facing. My concerns today is we don't have so much chance. We have hope. Your hope is what I can see here, entire group of people that cares about this. We need to spread the message more than ever, and we need to get involved. But the most important is to take actions with our local community for create this entire picture of what we visualize with our planet. We can navigate into adaptation and mitigation. That is what we need to do today. We need to make our cities greener. That is part of our adaptations to protect even more the Erie Lake, and start bringing flowers into the city. And a part of mitigation, we need to preserve the rainforest, secure the protection of there, build it up that legacy in many areas beyond, for we can keep doing this, putting CO2 back into what actually belongs, and we can build it up, this legacy that is going to belong to all of us. So thank you so much. All right, so I don't, yeah, any questions? Somebody want to know something? Yes, we've been actually like comparing crops, like palm oil crops, pineapple crops, and forests, primary and secondary forests. And yes, there are actually big changes when you compare the pictures of actually the noises that you can expect from a rainforest or what you can find in a pineapple crop that actually you will find less biodiversity. So you will see that the records that we are getting are more quiet. You don't listen a lot of creatures singing. So and that is incredible because literally listening that the nature, we can understand, even deeply how we need to bring back that biodiversity, even in crops. But for sure, we are now doing this experiment for 3 years. Probably we require more years for actually to see how fast is disappearing biodiversity and the changes that we're going to see throughout the time. But require for sure more years for we can get a whole picture of that. All right. Another question? Thank you.
I see the long list of threats to make sure that knowledge every one of us can relate to that. Do you have concerns about federal dog and cat regulation? on nature and to that end, having discussion, conversation.
What you say? The
Feral dog and cat populations.
feral-
that are
like wild-
domestic
Mhm.
pets that are
Yeah.
wild in the environment.
We have problems with cats. I love cats. But yeah, even in the deepest part of the jungle, I have seen, like domestic cats. But yeah, there are several like problems with invasive species, especially plants. For example, in our river that we protect, we have invasive species that is come from Asia, and it's taking all the river sites. And what is doing this plant, which is really aggressive, is they don't allow the trees to grow right next to the edge of the river. So that makes the riverside more weaker, for example. And so when we have the floods, all the water become like chocolate, and all that ended up in the Gulf, and is what actually is it's annihilating as well the coral reefs that require really crystal clean waters in the ocean for they can do their photosynthesis as well. So that is why I'm saying that I'm really interested about the work that Tinker Creek has been doing, and all of you as well has been doing for preserve the Erie Lake, so that I can bring that knowledge into Costa Rica as well. Mhm. Yeah, but yeah, we have invasives. Yeah, animals too.
What are the invasive plants you deal with? I'm just curious if they're the same like that we have up here.
No, they are completely different. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I have seen a lot of invasive species here as well. We need to start removing them. The tree of heaven, for example, is beautiful, all that, but it's creating the problem with lanternflies, for example. It's one of the trees that we need to really promote that people cut it down. But the same there. We are facing, it's like a whole bunch of species as well that are appearing in our country. Because Panama Canal is closed, a lot of invasive species can end up easily into that region as well. So I have seen a whole bunch of things. Yeah, flatworms, for example, plants as well, trees as well. We have a lot of different species of exotic trees that are, really aggressive, and they can reproduce easily. Yeah. Hmm. It's like a gun. It's like a gun. So so it can be good, can be bad. And so the most important when you visit areas like this, you secure that you are like contributing with the local community. That you don't visit just a whole star, 5-star, resort, all inclusive. Actually, the concept of the hotel that I'm working is let's go and explore the community around. So you will have the chance to go to the restaurants, to go and explore the indigenous community, and do outdoor activities outside of the resort. So, however, it's not the reality with all the places in Costa Rica. So the most important is the money can go directly to the local people, But what we are facing today is mass tourism, as is actually what happened in Yucatan Peninsula. It's happening in some regions on the north part of Costa Rica, especially, with big developments, So tourism can become destructive, you know, really destructive. Ecotourism, the real ecotourism, keeping the real pillars that is actually part of, link with the local community is good. So actually that can contribute, promote jobs and many other things into the local people. But it's to select the real tourism, the most important. Mhm. Another question?
So I think like one thing that I heard was influence. So has there been this towards pineapple? If so, what's that?
Mhm. Actually, for example, after our results that we got with palm oil, for example, sorry, with the spider monkey, we understood that palm oil in the peninsula is fragmentating their habitat. So the palm oil that you will find from Yucatan Peninsula to Peru belongs to just one single family. So, and I got the opportunity to talk to that family, and it's like, oh, we found this. You know, it's like the crops actually in this region is cutting their way of the monkeys. And they were like, oh, cool. Oh, interesting study. It's like, yeah, but we wants to do like, we can secure like a biological corridor through the crop. So that means that we need to find a way of how we can preserve this piece of land. We don't need to take the entire crop, but just to preserve this piece of land. And it's like, well, you can take the piece of land, yes, but you need to put the money for you can restore the things, put employees, put everybody, you know, it's like, so it's difficult to navigate with the corporations that they don't want to accept basically what we suggest. But yes, many people, they do eco-friendly crops, and we know the solutions now is that those people will accept those changes. That is the major problem. But the thing is, the lack of scientific knowledge doesn't allow us that we can move forward and we can really bring this into the Parliament of Costa Rica, and we start doing this in a political level for we can write it off, you know? So that is why for me, keep documenting in a scientific level, but hopefully getting the help of all of you, literally, for analyze the Golfo Dulce and the watersheds in the Ose Peninsula, we can really get more scientific information and let me to bring this into politicians and start enhancing everything. So yeah, but we need to move forward like that way.
You had a slide up there that showed all your goals, biodiversity. What intervention or what programs have proven to be most effective at reaching your goals? Sustainability of biodiversity.
Well, I think one of the most successful programs that we've been doing is, well, there are several. One is the land acquisition. I realized that many people in the area are old already and they want to write off their properties, but they want to secure their protection. So I've been able to locally save big pieces of land so far in this side of Costa Rica. And the other one is environmental education. I think is successfully as well. We've been creating whole programs for the entire community. So yeah, I think those pillars are essential. You cannot accomplish conservation without the social environmental part. So, but the most important for me is to save the ecosystem, what is left, what is still is left. So yeah. Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much. I wondered about your goals, land acquisition, one of the goals for additional land acquisition.
Yeah, basically, still the entire picture haven't been accomplished yet. Exactly the piece of land that I preserve basically has been disconnected. So it has a ring of deforestation around. So the spider monkeys that we have inside are completely trapped. Spider monkeys cannot cross crops or a cattle field. You know, it doesn't go up, down on the tree and keep walking on the other side. You know, so if the tree doesn't touch each other, we cannot secure the animal go through. So my whole dream is to still acquire another piece of land where I can complete that biological corridor. So I think until I don't accomplish this in my life, I'm never going to pass away. So I'm going to keep going, you know. So that is part of my mission. And so it's a big piece of land that we need to be hopefully protected. There are around 200 monkeys in our forests inside. So it's worthy that literally we can help them to reconnect that with the national park. So it's basically that is part of the mission to be accomplished. Yeah.
So thinking like 5. How do you raise the funds?
Yes, basically, how we've been able to build it up, our dream. Well, basically, that was through a incredible person that I met a long time ago. Her name is Adriana Otto. She is from Texas, and she's now 75 years old. She did a lot of conservation projects in the 70s and 80s in Costa Rica. And then she's like, okay, Jim, I think my time expired, but I wanted that you keep going. I like, all right. So she was the first person to believe in this dream. And in every respect that her decision brought me to preserve the first 120 acres of rainforest. And 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 since that, we've been able to expand even more. And through grants, through basically donors, that wants to keep transforming that, the money into forest, basically. We've been able to build it up this dream. So through basically begins with her, and then more friends join this idea in a collective way for basically building up this. But also through some international recognitions that I've been able to get is how I've been able to build it up that. Mhm. Yes.
What was her name again?
Jim, my name? Uh, Adrian Otto. Yes. Yeah. So exactly. So that is why I'm saying conservation, um, basically depends of our community efforts. We need to work together on this. So it's beyond just a brand, is how we can secure the protection of our natural world. You.
Get started again. You guys ready? Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Becca. Yes. So I want to introduce our next speaker. Our other fellow, again, with the same incredible IREX State Department program, brought fellows from around the world. And I think I forgot to tell you guys the first time around that there were 12,000 applicants for this program and 56 accepted. And so it's incredible hurdles they had to jump through. Yes. And we were lucky enough to get 2 of them here in our organization, and there's 6 in Cleveland area. So there's 4 other folks up in the Cleveland area too. But I'm going to introduce Joseph Losi. He'll have much more to tell you, but he is a ward chair back in the Solomon Islands, which if you find on a map is literally on the other side of the world from us. So he definitely wins for the farthest trip to Northeast Ohio. He is a high school English teacher as well back home on Guadalcanal, which is a part of the Solomon Islands. And he serves as a dedicated leader in his community. And he works, very diligently focusing on community resilience and then sustainable land and water management as well. And so his work has been, I feel like, ramping up more as we've talked to help protect freshwater resources, restore clear-cut forests, and help to really support those island communities as they face the realities of climate change. And so places that are, in these tropical regions are going to experience those changes much more rapidly and sometimes in more serious ways than we might immediately feel from climate. During his fellowship time here with us at Tinkers Creek, he has brought his global lens to many of our local challenges, and we've had lots of conversations about how watersheds are really important in the wider world and how access to clean water, protection of natural resources, and climate can impact differently, but still very seriously everywhere. And his insights have helped us to have thoughtful conversations in the office and pushed us to think more broadly about how our work here plays a bigger role in the larger changing world. Joseph's also a natural community builder. I think that has been one of the most wonderful things he's brought to us is just this sense of community. He has a talent for bringing people together. He's a natural educator. I think one of my favorite times with Joseph was when we went over to Twinsburg High School and talked to the students, and he got in front of that class and immediately was like, "Oh, you are a teacher." Like I could see it. So it was really fun. He's got genuine joy that he brings with him that has bleeded over into the rest of us. And it's been really great to share our corner of Ohio with him these past few months. And then the only other thing that's been the most fun that I forgot to mention at the beginning was that they've gotten to experience like the full Ohio gamut of autumn. So they came, it was really warm for us. They were so cold. We had the space heater on in the office like the first week. I think it was like 80 degrees, but that was cold. They've seen the color change in the leaves, which is new. And then also we got snow the other week. So that has been pretty magical and amazing to see through the eyes of people that come from tropical regions. So that's been really fun and just amazing. So we're so grateful to have Joe here today to share his perspective and his experience from the Solomon Islands. So please welcome Joseph. We call him Jojo Losi. Lucy, sorry.
Thank you, Erica. To be honest, I didn't even know about Ohio before this trip. And when they told me I'd be going to Ohio, I'm like, where? Ohio? And, you know, I've been here for almost 2.5 months now, and it's just been amazing just learning about this place and the work that I believe all of you do. So today I'll share my journey, my experience, the work I do back home. It's not as much fun as Jim's, I guess, but it's something different, and I hope you'll learn something today. So good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Losi, and I am honored to speak with you today. As a Community Solutions Fellow, and currently hosted by Tinkers Creek Watershed. Today, I'll be sharing with you something deeply personal, a journey I call soil movements. I'll tell you a little bit about it today. From the islands to Ohio. It is not just a presentation, it is a story about home, about responsibility, and about the threads that quietly connect all of us, no matter how far apart we come from. Now, this image you see is captures the heart of that story. So on the left is Ohio, the place that has welcomed me and taught me so much in the last couple of weeks. And on the right is the Solomon Islands, my home, the land, the rivers, and the people who shape me. These two places are separated by almost 8,000 miles, if you can imagine, of ocean. But as I stand here today, I come to realize something powerful. The challenges our communities face, the soil we walk on, and the water we drink, the pressures of development we feel are not just familiar and similar, they are reflections of the same struggle. And once you see that connection, you begin to understand that the responsibilities we share for our environment doesn't end at our borders. It becomes a shared duty, a shared hope, and a shared story. So let me tell you about Solomon Islands. The Solomon Island context. To understand this story, we first need to understand where I come from. The Solomon Islands is a nation of more than 1,000 islands. It is home to over 700,000 people. And if you could imagine, our population is probably less than that of Cleveland. These are some of our major islands you see here: Kodaikanal, Malaita, New Georgia, Makera, Choiseul, Isabel. Names that are unfamiliar to many of you. But to me, they are the places where my people live, fish, farm, and raise their children. They are places where every river has a story and every mountain is connected to a clan. We are a parliamentary democracy today, but the truth is our way of life is guided by something much older, and we call that custom. Our customary law, our identity, our moral compass. And under custom, there's one principle that holds everything together. Land is never owned by individuals. It is held in trust by tribes. And that means the land is not something you sell, buy, or walk away from. It is something you inherit, protect, and pass on. This idea shapes how we see ourselves, our responsibilities, and even our conflicts. It shapes how we respond to development pressures and to logging, to mining, to the changing climate. And this is deep communal relationship with land that I carry with me all the way from the Solomon Islands to Ohio. Because when you understand how strongly we are tied to land in the Solomons, you begin to understand why soil erosion, deforestation, and the degradation of our water sources are not just environmental issues. For us, they are cultural and spiritual ones too. Let me take you to my island. So this slide gives you a sense of our geography. We are a long chain of islands stretching across the Pacific, each one meant to be blanketed by dense tropical rainforest. And right here up close, this is my island of Guadalcanal, the place where my story begins. When you look at this image, I don't just see land. I see my childhood, my people, and the forests and rivers that raised us. Our government structure back home is layered. So we have the national government, and then we have the provincial government, and then at the foundation, we have our tribal and custom systems that guide everyday life. And as you will see throughout this story, this complexity can be both a strength, preserving identity, culture, community, and a weakness, especially when development pressures push faster than our systems can respond. So let me just make a connection between Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, and the USA. So we have a shared history. Our connection to the United States is not new. It was forged in history and sacrifice. In 1942, the Guadalcanal campaign was the first major Allied offensive in the Pacific. Now, US Marines landed on Guadalcanal, my island, on Tulagi and Florida, and in the intense fighting that followed, local Solomon Islands played a vital role as scouts, coast watchers, and guides, assisting the US forces. My grandfather was even one of them. The history of my island, Guadalcanal, is not only written in our forests and rivers, it is written in the scars of war. The Second World War left behind more than memories. It left behind infrastructure that still shapes our daily lives. Our main international gateway, it's nothing like the one you have in Cleveland or around the States. It's called Honiara International Airport, and the site that was once Henderson Field. This airstrip carries the name of a US Marine major. His name was Lofton R. Henderson, the first Marine aviator killed at the Battle of Midway. Its capture was the central objective of the entire Guadalcanal campaign. And the airfield itself was built by the Japanese in 1942. So when the US Marines landed on Guadalcanal on August 7, 1942, their immediate mission was to secure that unfinished landing strip just inland from Lunga Point. So the same ground where that airport is built, thousands of Solomon Islanders pass through every time we travel. This campaign became a defining turning point in the war, but for us, it also created something lasting, a deep and enduring bond between our nations. And today, as we talk about soil, water, and community resilience, it reminds me that our shared history is not just about conflict, it's about connections, responsibility, and ways our stories continue to shape one another. Another one of our post-war contributions and friendship is our national parliament, if you could imagine. Now, that bond between our nations was later formalized in a very visible way. And the building you see here is our national parliament. It was a $5 million gift from the United States government. It was constructed in honor of the US servicemen who gave their lives during the Battle of Guadalcanal. And for us, this building is not just where laws are debated, it is a symbol carved into our capital. A daily reminder of sacrifice, partnership, and the history that ties the Solomon Islands and the United States together. It stands as a physical bridge between our past and our present, and reminds us that cooperation across borders is not new. It is something we have lived, fought for, and continue to build. Another major landmark, one last one, that carries a deep World War II connection. If you were a World War II buff, you'd probably know about this. So our National Referral Hospital in the Solomon Islands it's still called today Number 9. This nickname came from its origins as a 9th American airfield in a field hospital during the war. And it is a reminder that even our most essential services, the places where our children are born, where families seek healing, where lives are saved, were shaped by that conflict. And the war that left its mark not only on our land, but on the institutions we depend on every single day. So enough of history. Now let's shift gears and face the crisis that is staring at the very heart of my people. To understand what we are going through, you must feel this. Over 80% of the Solomon Islanders live in rural areas, relying almost entirely on subsistence farming and our forests for survival. Our soil isn't just dirt, it's our bank, our groceries, our lifeline. And forests cover nearly 80 to 85% of our island lands. This is under threat. These forests are our water towers. The clear streams that flow through them are where we drink, wash, fish, live. But there's a darker side. Between 1990 and 2005, we lost more than 590,000 hectares of forest, more than 21% of our forest cover. And year after year, trees come down, and with them, our future. And when that forest disappears, so does our way of life. Our water is polluted, streams dry up, our gardens fail, and our children's safety is destroyed. This isn't just destruction, it's eradication of land, of culture, and of hope. And this is where our story takes an even darker turn. What you see here is not just an image. It is everyday reality for many communities across the Solomon Islands. This is the aftermath of unchecked development, rapid deforestation, and the slow, painful erosion of the very soil our lives depend on. And because many of you are hearing my story for the first time, let me explain something really important to myself. You may notice a phrase that I've put up there. It's called soil movement. For me, this is not just a hashtag. It is my personal campaign. So my voice in the noise, my way of calling attention to what is happening to our land, our people, and our future. Soil movement is a reminder that when the soil moves, everything moves. Our rivers, our gardens, our homes, our identity. It is the banner under which I speak, advocate, and fight for the land that raised me. So as you look at this image, understand that this is why soil movement exists, and this is why I am here today. Now, before I showed you the logging, forces like this are in my community. They forced their way into tribal lands, but the truth is logging was only the beginning. It came, it caused destruction, and even before our communities could heal, mining is now pushing in as the next wave. These images show exactly what this intrusion looks like. The entry of a logging company into our tribal lands, even after strong objection from local landowners. In the Solomon Islands, all land is owned or held communally by tribes. Even if the tribal members, they don't want logging, all it takes is just one signature, a signature of a single tribal member. Sometimes misled, sometimes pressured, and a company can legally enter and begin operations, even when the majority of the tribe is firmly against it. And this is the result. Forests stripped bare, habitats are destroyed, deep drainage ditches carved into the earth to make way for logging roads. Those same ditches become channels that carry sediment, oil, and wash directly into our water sources. The streams that feed our rivers and sustain families living in the hills. And now, as we struggle with the damage left behind by logging, mining companies are using the same weakness in our system, the same division, the same loopholes, the same pressure points. The promise may look hopeful on paper, but the risks are painfully familiar. Polluted waterways, loss of land, weakened governance, and communities torn apart. This is what happens when development moves faster than dialogue, when companies move faster than communities. and when profit moves faster than protection. The land suffers, the people suffer, and the damage does not stay in one place. It flows downstream, touching everyone who depends on these waters. These so-called logging roads, as you can see, don't stay roads for long. They collapse into deep scars on the hillside, channels that widen with every rain. And when rain comes, they don't just bring water, they bring mud, they bring oil, they bring chemicals and waste, all pouring into our streams like veins carrying poison into the heart of the land. Our rivers, the same rivers my grandparents drank from, turn brown overnight. The water we have trusted to cook, to wash our children, to sustain life, becomes unsafe. Our families get sick, our children suffer first. And now mining is waiting at the gates. It hasn't even started, but the fear it brings is real. Poor regulations, weak enforcement, and government support leave our communities vulnerable. We already know about logging, what unchecked development can do, and we cannot ignore the warning signs. This is more than environmental destruction. This is a public health crisis. And this is the human cost of development without responsibility. When decisions are made without community consent and without care for the generation, we must live with the consequences. So after seeing the damage logging has caused and feeling the fear of mining at our doorsteps, our community tried to push back. So a few years ago, we gathered together to stand against a logging company. And you can see in that moment, these images, the unity, the courage, the belief that together we could protect our land. For a brief moment, there was hope, there was strength, but only weeks later, some of the very same people in these images signed off their own land to the company, not because they didn't care, but because they were pressured, cornered, or simply trying to survive. This is the painful truth we live with, the fight between conservation and cash, between protecting our land and feeding our families. It is tearing our communities apart from the inside. And now with mining looming on the horizon, the danger is even greater. The promises are bigger and the pressure is heavier, and the cost to our forests, our rivers, our identity, and our future is growing every single day. Now, over the years, I have tried to rally our people, to help them see how these development projects creep into our lives and onto our land. Many listen, many agree, but the hard truth is that when I cannot offer a real alternative to their immediate needs, food, school fees, basic survival, logging and mining start to feel like the only doors left to open. And that reality forced me to rethink my approach. And I realized that shouting from outside was not enough. Real change must grow from within. And through leadership, through planning, through transparency, and through accountability. That realization led me to my new role. So back home, I am a high school teacher. But over the last few years, I volunteer with my ward committee. And currently, I am the ward chair. Here, my work every day is to create a practical, sustainable solutions for our people to meet their needs without sacrificing the land that gives us life. This is the heart of my work. And this is why I stand here today. Because if we do not build alternatives, the cycle will never break. And the rivers and the forest we love will continue to pay the price. This difficult reality, I will show you a little about it. The tension between immediate need and long-term solution. That shaped how I approached leadership. As elected ward chair, I realized that real change requires not just advocacy, but careful planning, resource management, and collaboration with my people. So in this role that I serve, I'm the official link between our provincial government and around the 2019 census there was around 4,000 people in my community. Currently, I think there'll be 5 pushing 6,000. So my committee and I manage an annual development grant of around 16,400 US dollars, which in Solomon dollars would be 140,000. While this is not a lot of money, it forces us to be strategic, and every dollar must count. Our primary focus as a committee has been meeting basic needs, clean water, education, and health. Yet the scopes of these needs often exceed our resources. And road access, for example, is a huge challenge. Fixing and maintaining roads is expensive, far beyond what our annual budget can cover. This reality means we must operate differently. So many times we provide essential materials, but the communities themselves must contribute labor and ingenuity to complete projects. While this limits our ability to focus on the economic or conservation initiatives, it also reinforces the principle that sustainable development must start with careful planning, community participation, and accountability. Our biggest challenge is logistics. So this is what community-driven development looks like. First, we purchase the materials, like these, you can see massive water tanks. I think this was a 5,000 liter water tank, which is around 1,000 over gallons. So we purchase the materials and then we bring them up into our communities. That is the hardest part, getting them home. We load them onto trucks for the long, grueling journey back to our ward. Every trip is a battle against the elements, navigating the same muddy, washed out logging roads that have caused the water problems in the first place. It is exhausting, expensive, and often frustrating. Yet, despite these obstacles, we keep going because every tank, every drop of water delivered represents hope, health, and a small but meaningful step toward giving my people the services they deserve. Transport difficulties are more than infrastructure problems, as you can see in this video. People are pulling a vehicle up a steep hill. A vivid reminder that access is a daily struggle. These challenges are barriers to survival, to development, and to breaking cycles of dependence. They show why careful planning, community participation, and ingenuity are essential. Because when roads fail, everything else fails. And this is my favorite part. This is where the heart of development truly shines. When the community takes over, when the truck gets stuck, and believe me, they always get stuck, people show up. We pull together, using ropes, our hands, our strength, and sheer determination to get the equipment moving. Every tank, every bag of cement, every tool is offloaded by hand, and there are no shortcuts, only dedication, sweat, and teamwork. And this is what ownership looks like. This is what community looks like in action. It's messy, it's hard, but it's ours, and it is beautiful. And this is the end result. This is why we keep doing, this is why we keep going. A brand new, reliable water harvesting tank at a community high school, giving children clean water for the first time. On the left, a family drawing water from a safe, clean tap right in their own village, 4,000 meters up in the highlands, something they could only dream of before. This is resilience, and this is hope. This is the future we are building together as a healthier, stronger community shared by our own hands, sweat, and determination. This is why every challenge, every muddy road, every heavy lift is worth it. Here are a few of our achievements. So this is in Tenaconga Community High School, a water tank project. This project shows that accountability really means. Every dollar was spent carefully, planned and monitored, but the real strength came from the community itself. The people of Tenaconga had to do something. They couldn't just watch. They built this with their own hands. They carried the materials, helped with installation, and took full ownership of the project. And this is how trust is earned. and why the impact lasts. When the community leads, progress becomes real, tangible, and lasting. Next, we have this community hall. This is up in the highlands. The only way to reach this place, you have to walk 3 hours, at least 3-4 hours to go up the mountains. So this is more than just a building. It's a space where children can learn, events can be held, and the community can come together. Again, the key to the success was accountability and community involvement. My team ensured every dollar was accounted for. So we supplied you see it's roofing iron on the top and the bottom, but the community had to do all the heavy lifting. Carrying materials, shaping the structure, and seeing the project through. It is a perfect example of how trust and dedication transform limited resources into a lasting project. Finally, we have a water tank in the highlands. The journey to build this tank was long and challenging. If you could see on that slide, Honiara is a couple of 100 miles in that distance. And to get to that place with that tank, it takes a lot of work. And the people themselves turn this into a project reality. Carrying materials, assembling the tank, and ensuring it serves everyone in the village. This is resilience, this is hope, and this is the future, built by the hands of the people it serves. But I must be honest with you. Despite our best efforts, there are times when even the most well-intentioned projects don't come together. When collaboration falls short and projects are incomplete, dormant. This clinic is a painful example. It was fully funded by the provincial government. It was meant to serve the community and meet a critical health need, but it has never been opened. Why? Because one crucial detail was missed. There is no staff house for the nurse. Without this, the clinic cannot operate. Now, my committee tried to solve the problem. We stretched our limited funds to begin building the staff house. But this is as far as our resources could take us. It sits unfinished. And this is what happens when a project is driven by the community need, but the practical realities on the ground are not fully understood. And the real tragedy is for the people. This village is in the very center of my island. Yet when the roads are impassable, villagers must walk 3 or 4 hours to access care, and another 3 to 4 hours to return home. And we have a building, but not a clinic. It's hard, it's humbling, but that's development. Development must not only be well-intentioned, it must be well-planned, practical, and fully grounded in the realities of the people it aims to serve. Before I came out, or when I received the news about coming on this experience, I was up in the highlands, and I had to walk 3 hours to come back to find a truck. So I felt the realities of these people up in the highlands, but that's just everyday life for them. And this is what brought me here, 8,000 miles from home. This is the bridge to Ohio. I came to the US as a Community Solutions Fellow. As Erica mentioned, I think around 12,600 people applied. And out of that, 56 of us got accepted to come. Sometimes I ask myself, why am I here? Do I even deserve to be here? But I've been blessed to be on this journey. And I've learned so much. So I've been placed with Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners. And what I discovered, the problems are remarkably the same. The only difference is the source. So it was a powerful reminder that whether in Guadalcanal or Ohio, communities struggle with water, development, and sustainability. And the solutions can come when people come together, take ownership, and lead. I don't know if you all know about Tinkers Creek, but Tinkers Creek is a major and beautiful part of the Cuyahoga River watershed. And I have been privileged to be hosted by Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners, or we call sometimes TCWP. Their mission is clear and focused: to protect and restore water quality and vital habitats through strong community partnerships. Every day they are on the ground doing the crucial work, restoring streams, banks, cleaning, leading cleanups, educating the public. This experience has been eye-opening for me. Because back home, we simply don't have dedicated teams like this. For my people, our very survival depends on the health of our ecosystem. Yet we are constantly threatened by issues like logging and mining. What I realized here is powerful. The fight to protect the environment in Ohio is fundamentally the same fight we face in Guadalcanal. The lessons I'm learning here will help me bring new solutions, knowledge, and energy back to my community. And this is the realization that truly connects us all, bridging my community with the missions of groups like TCWP. Back in the Solomon Islands, our biggest threat is massive deforestation. Here in Ohio, the core challenge looks different: urbanization. It is not logging roads, but the sheer expense of concrete and asphalt that prevents water from naturally soaking into the earth. Yet the environmental outcome is strikingly familiar. The result is exactly what we see at home: massive soil destruction. Here it shows. This experience is a powerful reminder. Despite our different circumstances, poverty and logging in Guadalcanal, wealth and urbanization in Ohio, the battle is the same. We are all fighting to protect our land, our water, and our future. And if the environmental challenges weren't enough, here is the most striking parallel between Ohio and back home. In my community, one of the biggest and greatest hurdles is getting tribes and governments to work together effectively. Coordination is difficult, and it often slows or stalls important projects. Here in Ohio, the Tinkers Creek watershed crosses 24 different jurisdictions, 24 mayors, 24 councils, all trying to manage a single watershed system. It is the same exact problem of governance complexity. The underlying question is identical. How do we balance development and growth while protecting the environment? It made me realize, whether in Guadalcanal or in Ohio, leadership, collaboration, and community engagement are at the heart of every solution. The takeaway: I started my journey in the Solomon Islands helping communities, and I came to Ohio to continue that work with Tinkers Creek watershed partners. What I learned is this: the issues are the same, whether it's sustainable, unsustainable logging destruction in a river in Guadalcanal, or unchecked urban development polluting a stream here in Tinkers Creek watershed. The root cause is a breakdown in our stewardship of the land. The soil is moving in both places, and we are responsible for where it lands. And this brings me to my conclusion. My time here has taught me that water is the greatest connector. It does not respect our political borders or property lines. The universal truth is that local stewardship is the most powerful force for watershed health. We must champion sustainable land use, whether we are fighting loggers or miners in the tropical forest or advocating for green infrastructure in our urban cities. Our shared future is in our shared waters. Our shared responsibility is not about solving a problem on a different continent. It is about recognizing that the actions we take right here, right now, are part of the same global equation. The commitment of a community in the islands to build a safe, clean water source is the same spirit required to protect the Cuyahoga River and the streams that feed it. A healthy watershed is not a government's job alone. It is not a charity project. It is the direct result of local personal stewardship. My people have had to fight with almost nothing: limited funds, failing roads, and the pressures of companies pushing access to our land. But here you have something incredible: powerful, strong institutions, community organizations, and citizens who care. Group like Tinkers Creek Watershed, they already know the path. Plant a tree, join a cleanup, advocate for zoning that protects our waterways. Your hands, your voice, your presence, they matter more than you think. Think globally, act locally. I think you've heard of that so many times. If a village in the Solomon Islands can stand together to protect its rivers with no machines, no money, and sometimes no roads, if they can carry pipes on their shoulders, build tanks with their own hands, and guard their forests with what little they have, then surely we, all of us here, can protect this watershed with the resources and knowledge we already possess. Because truth is, we are all connected. We're all downstream from someone. And the choices we make, whether on an island in the Pacific or here in Ohio, decide the future of our water, our land, and our children. Thank you. If you have questions. Yep. Personally, no, but I've had people suggest it, and I think it's probably a good avenue to try and connect it to my people. So maybe for some context, like the ward committee that I chair back home, basically just volunteers. So the government gives out a grant, and then we use that grant to help people. When that money runs out, we don't do anything. We wait for the next chance to come in. And I've had like conversations with Erica about like starting up a maybe nonprofit or something that can carry work further from what the ward committee does. And I think it's important as I return home. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. This is wonderful. I wondered about the water that you're gathering. Look here that you're using rainwater collected in these containers. So is that the case? And how do you make sure that that is potable?
Yeah, so I think I had a question from people at work. Do you treat the water before you drink? But no, people just fill up the tanks, come with a container and drink the water. So you might, have something about that, but that's how it works back home. So people just collect water on roofs and then goes into the tank, and there's ample rain throughout the year. So people drink water straight from the tank. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have strong commitment, or what's the level of commitment in terms of laws, regulations, et cetera, from the national and provincial level to help support what you're doing at the local level?
So if you didn't know, our country was a British protectorate. Yeah. So the British left a government system that was similar to theirs. And most of the we weren't a colony, but most of the laws that they left is still in place today. So in terms of land ownership, a landowner only owns 6 feet of the ground. And most of these problems stem from these laws because there are no regulations or no proper laws that help us to conserve our places. So when you try to stop a logging company to come in, as long as someone signs, that's it. They are able to come in. They have access to that place. Just this week, we had like a mining company. They want to do prospecting. So I've been really vocal on my Facebook platform, trying to rally up people to stop logging. But then even my own community, they tell me, you're not a landowner. So if you're not a landowner, you don't have any say about what happens on the land, even though you live on the land. So it comes back to how our customary laws and the government laws are not able to help us because of the big differences that they have. Yeah. So we have a parliament system that consists of 50 individuals. They make up our national government. And basically, these 50 people just have to change the law. But that has been so difficult because there are so many outside influences. People get elected off money from businesses with interests. So mining companies push for who are the members who come into parliament. So with the ruling government, they can just decide to change the law. It's common sense, but that never happens, and it hasn't happened. The same mining laws were in place in 1978 are still the same ones in place today. Even the sharing options for like landowners only get 1% of whatever the company makes. The company gets like 75% and the government the other 25, around that. So you can see the struggles that we have. So people sign off the land just for that 1%, and then the company comes in and takes everything. Yeah. Really. it goes to the government. So our government over the last almost 20, 30 years has depended on logging as its main source of income. So the revenue that the country has comes from logging. And now the logs have started to run out. So mining companies are coming in and they're pushing policies with the government so that they can harvest the resources. Yeah. And that's our biggest challenge. Yeah. I think that is our biggest struggle. So I'll use this example. My dad basically signed off access to one of his plots. He's a landowner. Now, my dad, his mom is from the island. My mom is from Papua New Guinea. So basically, I'm not a landowner. Get it? So even though I'm advocating, my dad, he has said to me, "You're not a landowner. This is what we want." So it's one of our biggest challenge. So majority of the people in my community are young people. So I've been targeting that and I've been trying to rally them to understand the impacts that these old people have been doing. They signed in logging, they get the money, they don't share the money. And then when the logging is done, money is gone and we're left with all this destruction. So Eric has seen on my Facebook platform, I've been going all out, trying to get people to come together and organize, even though it's already legal. They've already got the prospecting license. The landowners have already signed. But we're trying to stop them, trying to block them so that they do not come in and we can preserve our environment. Yeah. Yeah, so over the years, the government has a policy. Yeah, so after you do logging, you have to do reforestation, but none of the companies have done that, and there's just not enough laws to enforce it on these companies. The government has rolled out reforestation plans, but over the last couple of years, they've rolled out plans that are for commercial use, like teak, eucalyptus. But no one has focused on the native forest. So I didn't share this, but as fellows from the Community Solution Program, each of us has to return home, and in the next 6 months, do a project, a community action project. So myself, I'm planning to go back and do agroforestry. So I'm planning to replant a portion of my people's area with around 500 to 1,000 trees, just to get people interested into that. So reforestation has been a government incentive, but it has always been focused on commercial. So replanting trees that are able to be cut and then sold again. Yeah.
Type of trees are present on the islands?
So we have, I think I was trying to look up. So we have Vitex, call it Vasa, lots of hardwood trees, a few softwood. I think the names I have would probably be local ones, and then yeah. But we have lots of rainforest.
Then, is there like, besides the timber, obviously, from it, can you get other like products from the woodlands there?
So the main focus from the loggers were just round logs, and then local communities would like get logs that were cut down, were not allowed for export. They would saw them into sawn timber and sell them locally. And much of that has been going on for almost 20, 30 years. And now most of the rainforests next to the villages have all been depleted, and they are further up into the land. And people have been struggling to build their houses because they've sold off all the logs, and it's a big problem. Yeah. So back in 2020, I think, or 2021, we had a change of alliance. So before we used to recognize Taiwan, which is a friend of the United States. But our leaders came in and they changed that. And now we have partnerships with China. So geopolitics is at play here. And most of the companies in the country are Chinese companies. And yeah, we have on Guadalcanal, we have a major gold mine that funds most of the, yeah. So that is why we have a big problem, because these Chinese companies don't care about regulation. They can throw money left and right and just come in. And people are willing to receive 5,000, 1,000 because it goes straight to their pocket. And that's what they need immediately. And no one looks towards the future. That is why we are trying to get that into our young people's brains. Yeah.
I read that the population is relatively young,
Mhm.
20, 21 years old. Are there any efforts right now to educate this younger population about environmental stewardship, about their spiritual values, connection to the land, so that over the long haul there can be some change?
So over the
Sustainable change?
last couple of years, we've had like more young people come into the, because social media wasn't a thing before. Now there are thousands of people on social media, and it has become a platform where we get to share and interact. And I've seen groups of young people that have been passionate about it. We had a group of, I think, young lawyers who took a case up to the international court about climate change, and they managed to get it up to the international court and recognized internationally, because we have lots of low-lying islands that are prone to sea level rise. So that has become a thing, and I think towards next couple of years we're looking at a big growth, because young people are realizing the impact that these developments are having on our environment. And it is scary about how we're going to leave the place in the next 5, 10, 15 years if we just harvest and destroy the environment. Yeah. So I'm hopeful it will only grow. Yeah.
Two things, I wonder if you could speak to women's involvement and Jungle Jim did.
Mhm.
There's a certain area where the women be, to answer my question about sea level rise, that definitely. However, how are women getting involved in the
So I'll start with this. The Solomon Islands is a mixed society. So we have islands where land is owned by the men. Now on Guadalcanal, land is owned by the women. We are a society that land ownership is passed down through women. So as I said before, my dad, her mom is from the island. So he is a landowner through her mom, through my grandmother. But myself, my mom is from Papua New Guinea. So I have no ownership. Even though I'm from the islands, I do not have ownership to the land. Now, here is the biggest problem that I have seen. Even though land ownership comes down to the women literally have no say. They are passengers in the whole thing, in like logging, mining, even though they do not like it, but the men take the lead. But when we talk about land ownership in the Solomon Islands, in Guadalcanal especially, land ownership is passed down to the women. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, about like women are mostly seen to be in the kitchen. We're still at that stage, and it's difficult, and hopefully it changes, because women know about looking after things, looking after the environment. The men just want to harvest, and you know. We have other islands, like other provinces, where land is owned by the men, but on my island it's owned by the women. Yeah. As I referred to about customary, like our customs. So land ownership is owned by women. Oh, sorry.
This says reforestation after unsustainable logging practices. Are there any efforts or research on the more sustainable timber production?
Research, I'd say not that much. Yeah. Most of what happens in my country is pushed by these Chinese company, I'll have to say, and they push government policies, and most people in the government are looking to make a quick buck out of their position. So, like I said, we have 50 people who could change the rules and laws in it just like that. But that has never happened in the last 10, 15 years because of all these issues with, access to money and conservation. No one makes money off conservation. That's the idea, How can you eat of conservation? So, biggest challenge there. But we have like communities in our islands who have able to make money from conservation of carbon trading. And that is an idea which we'd like to have in our community. But if mining comes in and that just goes out the window, and yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty. We're gonna get started with this microphone works as well, right? And your microphone works. So we have 2 microphones. All right. Jim, I think, has an amazing social media following, don't you? Right? More. Okay.
What do you want? Instagram?
I do a lot of Instagram, so yeah, you can follow.
Do we need to
some-
follow you on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Videos with some millions of views so far. But the most important is like we can keep sharing this. We inspire more people. So technology is a way of how we can amplify our voice and share our concerns.
You might have to share some stories about your GoPro camera, but we'll get there. I'm gonna prompt you to do that later. Awesome. Go ahead. Thanks so much everybody for being here today. I am thrilled to host and thrilled for some of my dearest friends to be here with us today. And super excited to just share with you a conversation, because I think I really want this to be a conversation. So by the way, hi, I'm Anna Burns. I actually work here at Davie, and I've been doing that for a long time, but I also have been on the board for Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners for many, many years. Also on the board of Summit Soil and Water here in Summit County, along with a couple other things that I do as well in the community. So those are some of my most fun things to do, but work is fun too. And this is why I love my job, because I get to do fun things with awesome, cool, fun people like this. So I wanted to, we've met Jojo and Jim, and take a minute to introduce our other 2 panelists to bring some other more local perspectives and have a conversation with our fellows from far across the world. So Elaine, do you want to introduce yourself first? And we had the first kind of like introduce yourself and maybe share a little bit about what environmental stewardship means to you.
I'm Elaine Marsh, and I'm currently the watershed specialist at Summit Metro Parks. And I've worked a lot on water, on rivers, and I have a perspective on rivers. It is not a water flowing thing. It is a transportation system. It is the place at the bottom of the hill where land and air and water mix and mingle and move from place to place. It's a complex system. We depend on it. And I've been working with it for a long time because I don't know how to do anything else.
And kayak.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's on a river.
There you go. Awesome. And you are the founder of
Co-founder of Friends of the Crooked River that is 35 years old this year. And we were sort of the first or a watershed-wide organization. And then all these other wonderful watershed groups came to be, and we kind of focused on policy and sewers and dams. So, yeah.
Do you want to talk about your most favorite dam?
My most favorite dam is the one that's still up. It's Gorge Dam. And I I think all of you know, we are actually in the phase after nearly 8 years of planning. And let's see, 19. So 6 years of actual funded planning to take that dam down. And we actually moved the first scoopful of sediment out of the dam pool about 10 days ago.
Oh, fantastic. And can I ask, like, the ETA of the actual dam removal?
It's, the thought is if everything goes according to plan, about 3 years of removing sediment, 2 years of taking down the dam. So that brings us around
2030.
yeah, 2029, 2030. That's if everything goes as planned, but I plan on staying healthy.
Awesome. Thank you, Elaine. And I don't know, Jojo and Jim, if you've had the chance to see the Gorge Dam, Summit Metro Park, like it is definitely, it's a feat. I mean, to go and look at how big it is and think about, 5 years from now, that last major impediment on our Cuyahoga River will be removed, and hearing how long it took to get there and the perseverance and dedication of folks in our community to really drive that forward has been huge. So Katie, please.
Hi, I'm Katie Stuble. I am the Director of Research at Holden Forests Gardens. So those of you that might not be familiar with Holden, we are 2 campuses, both north of here. We are the Holden Arboretum, and we are also the Cleveland Botanical Garden. As a researcher there, when I put on my scientist hat, I am the restoration ecologist. So that means I think about some of the major threats to our forested systems, those being non-native species, including forest pests and diseases, climate change, land use conversion. Do we have any more big threats? I'm sure we do. I think about those threats. I think about solutions to those. So how can we, as folks in the forest, use restoration techniques to push those forests in directions that we would like to see them go? I also oversee the community forestry team there. A whole bunch of them are here on site. If you want to talk about forest management and preserving forests, we've got the team here. There we are taking that knowledge and we are empowering folks to help steward privately held forests. And so I think listening to the 2 talks that were fantastic today, there's so many parallels. And I think, having somebody here from a metro park system, we think about preserving land that is in the public sphere, right? So land that we know we can protect. But in Ohio, as I suspect, in a lot of these other places and places around the globe, a vast majority of the natural lands are actually privately held. So that's individual landowners. In Ohio, that's 85% of our forests. And so as we think of forests as a collective good, right, they're sequestering carbon for all of us around the globe, they're preserving biodiversity that all of us enjoy, we really have to reach each individual landowner. And so I can sort of build the castle of science in those like blocks, brick by brick, but we also need to share that. And so at Holden, we're doing that in a big way with our Working Woods Learning Forest and all the extension bits of that to help empower individuals also steward the forests.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll kick it off with a couple questions, and 2, we want to keep this a little bit conversational. So if anybody has questions from the audience, we're wanting to entertain those as well. Just raise your hand and we'll certainly make our way around to you. First question on my list was, and we can maybe decide who wants to answer. I think first maybe I'd like to go back to Jim. What barriers still exist to implementing effective stewardship practices, and how do you address them? And so it's kind of like to hear like your perspective on that, and then maybe like bounce off of Elaine and Katie and see, what the similarities are.
All right, so I think the most important is education. So I think it's in areas that, in my community, education is something that is really difficult to, accomplish. There is not enough schools around So the people basically they struggled in their daily days. So the most important that we've been doing is promoting education in the region, environmental education. Also through my work, I've been able to build up the first bamboo school of the region and the first bamboo school of Costa Rica. So I think the most important for convince someone to do this kind of work and really we can preserve the natural world is bring education to everybody. And bio literacy, or how we teach the people to read nature, it's key. So we need to really encourage that into everybody, that people can read nature as we do with the books. Between we more understand nature, what is happening, it's more obviously the impact that we are doing. But the first thing that we need to do is to share that education with everybody.
Katie or Elaine?
The biggest barrier, I believe, is that we die. No, seriously, we have such a truncated view of what life is. This planet is like what? Billions. Yeah, well, 4.5 billion years old. As a species, we've been around millions of years. How long does it take for the water to eat through a rock? We don't perceive the long view of the importance of environment. That's the number one barrier, is that we view the world within the confined space of our own lives. And we don't think about the long view. And we don't think about what comes after. If we look, so my biggest experience is watching the Cuyahoga River go from a really filthy, awful place to a place that is now, for almost all of its length, in compliance with aquatic life services. And we didn't even know what aquatic life meant when I was a kid. So we have spent all of this time cleaning things up, and people almost have forgotten how dirty things were and how quickly it got dirty. So I think our biggest barrier is our inability to make connection to the long view of environment. And it comes through education. It comes through love of the land. It comes through teaching kids about the beauty of things. And it comes through value of what it means. I could go on, but I'll give it to somebody else.
I'm going to maybe counter that with the opposite viewpoint, which is that we are dealing with folks who are finite on this planet, and they do have short-term goals. And what I think I've learned working in the working woods at Holden Forests Gardens is that we can help people meet their short-term goals with a healthy environment. And so it's making those connections. You need money now. Let us teach you how to sustainably harvest on your land. You need a recreational space. Let us show you how to do that sustainably. And so I think when we help people meet the goals that they have in the here and now with the environment, which is, I think, some of the work that you guys are also doing, that allows us to get buy-in right now. And so our education is often in the space of how can your woods work for you, hence the name Working Woods, but sort of working on those timescales.
Right. I mean, Joseph, that ties in exactly to like your community and, your people's connection really to the land and sustainable subsistence farming. And they really depend on the land. How do you tie that into your work?
To start off, our biggest barrier may be the laws and regulations that are in place. For you here, I think the laws have reached a point where you are able to perform what you are doing without any problems, I'd say. But for me, that is the biggest problem, because we want something of what you have and doing what you do, but that is just not possible with the challenges that we face. So once we've reached that level in terms of laws and regulations, then maybe people will understand, because it's just options between do you eat or do you go hungry? So that is probably for us the biggest barrier. Yeah.
Hmm. What innovative strategies or collaborations do you see making a real difference? What are those collaborations that are of key importance for you?
I think I'd start just being here. Being exposed to Thinkers Creek and their goals and objective has helped me view my own place. I've told people on Facebook and they go, yeah, we don't really care about our watershed. Most people don't have sanitation, so they just, go to the toilet and the river. All the rubbish just goes in the river. So for me, this has been a really eye-opener, and I believe it will impact the work that I go back and do as I go home. And I'm hoping some of these connections will bear some fruits for me as well.
I think it's same as Jojo. Has been really inspiring. The work that Tinker Creek is doing. I was talking yesterday with the embassy that would love to replicate the work that everybody's doing here for protect the riversides and bring back that knowledge into Costa Rica. So for sure, the next grants that I'm going to write down is basically about create these possibilities into our country and bring this knowledge into Costa Rica as well. So basically, some of the major partners locally, I've been able to set up some partnerships with some universities, some of them like the Imperial College of London. So through them, we've been able to even get some technology for keep addressing more of the problems that we are facing in the region, as I've been showing in my presentations. But I think this has been so far one of the greatest opportunities for our organization as well, for everybody, so that we can bring back new knowledge and hopefully we can save whales with this.
Well, I mean, I think Tinkers Creek, from the very minute it was founded, understood the need for collaboration, particularly with community leaders. And we can have a voice, we can have a voice of the people, a strong voice, but we really need to have good collaboration with civic leaders. They're the people who ultimately make things happen. And so we need to be friends with them and to support them when we can and kind of lead their thinking in the right directions when they need to go that way. But we're never going to influence people if we don't talk to them and if we don't listen to them. And so to me, the greatest collaboration is your ears and listening to where people are.
Yeah, I'll speak to collaboration, I think, from a more thematic point of view. And we really live and die in our program by, I think of it as our trinity. It's like conserve, understand, inspire, right? Like we're going to be boots on the ground doing the conservation work. We're going to back that up with the research to understand the impacts. And then we're going to take that knowledge and inspire action beyond our borders. And so collaborating with people across those spaces, but pulling those things together, I think is really a powerful stance for us and as sort of a nice framework for anybody that wants to have impact on a larger geographic scale.
Awesome, thank you. Gonna change topics a little bit, and I think I think when we think about equity, I do think a lot about the more disadvantaged communities, and it was interesting. One of you had a slide up that showed some of the biggest contributors to pollution, if you will, in a broad sense, are the top 1% richest people in the world, right? And that really the lower 50% of our economic brackets, if you will, are below a threshold of sustainability, I think was more or less what that graph showed. So how do equity and inclusion intersect with environmental stewardship? How do you address that? How do we work through that in your work?
All right. So as I've been mentioning, human rights are quite related with what is happening in the conservation of, of our natural world. People don't realize that also women's played an important role as well in all this, and how we've been developing our society and also our own species, how we behave basically, is how we impact the planet. Until we don't secure that people will have equal opportunities for we can enhance their well-being, it would be impossible to address this challenging situation that we have right now on the planet, because everybody wanna live okay, secure water in their house, et cetera, et cetera. And that is not the reality. And actually, all this situation with climate change is making everything worse. We need to rebuild our houses every single day, year, with the storms and hurricanes and all that. So that is why I'm saying that the situation that we are facing today begins to accept the rights of the people, and increase the well-being of the local families and communities that we have around the planet. But the most important is force those changes that we require today, and commit with the politicians to make those changes. Until we don't secure that 1% that is polluting, more than us, it would be impossible that we do our work. Conservation without fundings is just gardening. And that is one of the major reasons of why we keep talking about this all the time. And it's because governments are not funding our work. And the lack of those possibilities for we can rebuild our communities and how we can bring back nature without possibilities of do our work, it's taking our time even more. And that is why probably we don't are getting successful of what is happening right now. But the most important is to make those political changes. And US play a such important role on the planet. What happens here will impact across the planet. So that is why I think is not, I don't want to throw the responsibility to all of you, but revolution should as begins here. And I'm here for support that. So yes.
I was thinking about the question and I came to this idea. So at my own community, we have this beautiful church, and people come to church. We have these good seats, nice speakers, projector, all that. But when people leave the church, some people go back to houses that have leaf roofs. Some people go back to houses that have roofing iron. Some people go to places they have flush toilet. Others go to a pit toilet or just the bush. So that is the biggest challenge, finding how can you, advocate for that when people are facing these challenges. And it is a big struggle. You want equality, but not everyone's equal. So I think I'll say that.
I'm just going to throw a science lens on this really quick. So a thing I see happening really quickly in the science world of late is the use of this term, and the term is co-production. And by that, they mean scientists that are co-producing the development of knowledge with people that could benefit from the knowledge. And I think for time immemorial, scientists have narrowly worked in their own heads and sort of identified questions and done the research to solve problems that they think that they're seeing. And right now there's a massive shift in this world, and it's especially relevant in the world of restoration, to co-produce that with people that are maybe not traditionally trained scientists. And in that way, we can move the field of restoration much more quickly, and I think in spaces where we need to be, but we might not be identifying. And so I think that's a really exciting space on the knowledge generation side that might address some of that inequity that we see.
Can I ask you a follow-up
Yeah.
question? Right. Where is that happening? And can you give tell a story about an example about that? Like, how is that happening? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'll tell you about how I think it's going to happen next year for Holden, and then I'll tell you how it happened for me in the forested space. So we are right now in the process of hiring an urban ecologist, and that person will be boots on the ground in Cleveland, working with stakeholders there to help address issues of urban greening and tree canopy and those sorts of things, but in direct communication with folks in Cleveland to help us identify and understand those challenges more deeply. For me personally, you know, I'm a trained scientist. I've worked in lots of different systems, and I think about doing science in a really specific way, which is lots of random numbers and, you know, charting things out and thinking about things specifically as I've been trained to do. And when I worked with Working Woods from day one, so Working Woods, if you guys haven't been there, it's a forest management demonstration. And over that, we overlay, data collection. So if the conservation team says we are going to thin the canopy because we think that's going to make the remaining trees grow faster, sequester more carbon, harbor more biodiversity, I can put numbers on that. That's great. When we first set it up, I walked out there. I knew we were going to thin the canopy a little bit, and I would have randomly selected trees in some sort of a grid and, like for removal. But I went out with folks that were foresters, and that's not how they did it, right? They very purposefully selected certain trees that were going to stay and certain trees that were going to go based on tree health, species ID, all of these things that would have not been part of my, choice selection as a scientist, which would have been, much more random. And so in doing that and working with practitioners to help us design the site, we had something that was going to be much more representative of how people would manage a forest. And so later when we put numbers on that, that's an accurate reflection of how forest restoration would happen or forest management would happen. Versus if scientists had said, we want to understand how forest thinning is going to impact biodiversity, and then we set it up, we would have missed the mark because we wouldn't have managed the way that practitioners manage. So that's sort of the co-production, working side by side with the practitioners so that the science reflects reality.
Right. Oh, that's a great example. I love that one. Yeah. Did you have Elaine?
Well, I mean, the whole issue of fairness is a big question that we deal with every day. And I think we all need to remind ourselves and everybody else that who says we have a right to destroy all of our natural resources because we can? Who says that that people have the right to do that? And to me, it's a very philosophical thing. It's why don't everyone have a right to live in a healthy environment? And we fight for that for everybody the same way we fight for it for all the non-human species. So to me, it's a way of organizing how you think and feel in addition to what you do.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the audience? Anybody have any burning questions they want to ask yet? I haven't inspired anybody to ask any questions yet. Yeah.
So I was sort of inspired by Katie's comment about co-production. I mean, you certainly see that in sort of this field of adaptive management as well. But I think one thing that's been challenging is that that doesn't happen once. Ultimately, for co-production and adaptive management to function, you have to keep doing that over and over. So, sort of using Elaine's, Katie's insights, like you don't just need to collaborate once; you need to create lasting. So I was wondering what the panel thought about that, about how you actually create these legacy conservation stewardship.
So this is back in the 1990s. Friends of the Crooked River were very concerned. The state was involved in developing anti-degradation rules for wetlands and streams. We didn't have that before that. And so one of the first tests that came up of their anti-degradation policies was the development of a Class 3 wetland in Parma. And there was a big fight. And that fight was so pivotal for many things. But Friends of the Crooked River got involved in that lawsuit. And we were able to delay that project for some time. And when the Ohio EPA decided to delay it, I was at the site with a number of officials, and the gentleman who was in charge of the wetland came up of developing the wetland, came up to me and he said, "Nice work, little lady. You have succeeded in slowing this down. But what about the next time? Will you, in your miserable little amount of budget and your small resources of people, will you be able to come back?" This is the reality that we all need to accept. There are no victories in conservation battles, none. They're just successful rests between the next one, because people who want money want free natural resources, and they have a lot of capital resources to figure that out. So I'd like to tell you there was a solution, but there isn't. It's persistence to keep what we know the future needs.
Good one. Pass it that away.
All right.
Does anybody else want to respond to, like, how do we do lasting sustainable change? Or we could pivot to, I saw another hand back in the corner. Yes.
I think is there where we have the problem. How we convince the politicians, to join and understand the work that we are doing, because they even refuse, about science. And that is the major challenging thing that we are facing. We need to understand that science is not just a mind concept thing. It's basically, as I was explaining before, it's like a microscope. It's a tool that allow us to see deeper. So, but the problem is that even that we know what we are doing in the planet, we understand, in a scientific level, what is going to happen as well. Still, politicians, they don't get it, and I think that is one of the major reasons of why we haven't seen those changes that we require today. Probably because they refused, even that they know what is going to happen, but also or they just want to lie, So it's the only two options. But I think in general, for most of the people, it's so hard to understand what means, our changing planet. What means that, So it's becoming really overwhelming to understand this issue. But so far, we also understand that we can bring back nature and we can restore the planet. Until we don't develop more scientific information about our natural world, and we can keep documenting, creating that scientific evidence, it's difficult for us to make the politicians commit. And something that I've been doing with the situation of the spider monkey, that probably we faced extinction, it was to work with Imperial College of London. Through that, they've been able to contact the embassy in Costa Rica. And then the embassy of UK has been getting more pressure into the Costa Rican government as well. So it's how that things works for us. And for that reason, international collaborations like this are essential for protect areas really far away from home.
Personally, for me, it's one of our biggest challenges. Like last year, we just had our elections, and we went out advocating to people about the leadership we young people wanted, and we had more people who were in the age bracket of 23 to 45 who should have voted for a young person, but they ended up voting for someone who could give them money. And that is the biggest challenge. Like, how do you get people to support you when you cannot give them money? And how do we conserve this and, you know, be able to develop us? So I was sitting and thinking about, like, my ancestors didn't have access to anything, but they kept the environment in the way they knew how. But now people want to, have development, want roads, want water, want all that, but that comes with a cost. And that cost is what's happening to our environment. And it is probably the biggest challenge we face here.
You have anything you want to add, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would add as somebody that's working in this region, and I work for a nonprofit, and our space isn't really to show up and weigh in on politics per se. But to your point, like there's folks that will or will not be voting on various issues, and we might not, pick a pony in the race. But I think the thing we know we need to do is just keep showing up. And, so like there's some folks out here that'll be out in people's communities, invite people in. We just had this weekend a free open house and people could come to us, but we know not everybody's going to come to us. So where are they? Can we show up in the communities to sort of just build those relationships and start, getting people to think about trees in their backyards, trees in their towns, trees in their forests. The other part of that equation is we'll be working with politicians across the spectrum that the people voted for. And so can we talk to those individuals as well and show them what we're doing? Make a connection. You maybe not vote the same way as I do, but you might like that tree and you might appreciate the clean air and the clean water. You might appreciate the dollar value on that tree. And so like, what's the connection? And what connection can we make with politicians? And that might be going to them in their space. It might be bringing them into our space and showing them what we're doing and trying to, change hearts and minds that way for the folks that are in office.
You make an amazing point there. That somebody said earlier, like the number one thing we need to do is listen and listen to everybody, not just those people that think the same things we think, but listen to the people that don't think the things that we think, and try to understand where they're coming from and what are their values, what are their needs, and meeting people where they are is so important to, I think, to the work that we do with respect to education and outreach and environmental stewardship and ecological restoration, planting a tree, like how you can translate the value in that to something that's valuable to other people is so important.
And just sort of to add to that, there were some changes across the board in Ohio and federally in the recent years. And so there's different folks that we're going to deal with if we're going to, want to change policy. Now the players at the table are different. And we had some conversations about that. And quite frankly, I don't think it changes how we do our job at Holden. And so I'm looking at Patrick here. Patrick is one of our consulting foresters. He's going to go to people's back 40 and look at their land and try to convince them to keep it as forest and keep it as healthy forest. But Patrick's going to go in there with blank slate, right? Because he doesn't know who that person is, what they want, right? It's listening first. It's finding out what they value and what's going to speak to them. And then it's moving forward and helping guide them to healthy stewardship of the forest. But it's not coming in with an agenda because that's not going to win anybody over. And so I think because we already work from that space, that translates well to the people in politics because, we're not coming in with a particular agenda other than healthy forest, but we're happy to get you there in ways that are going to seem palatable to you.
Fire question. And do you have something you want to add, Jojo? Okay. Fire question. So like a quick answer. Are you ready? Okay. What's one small action? So like kind of a takeaway, take home, right? What's one small action that if widely adopted could have a big impact? So like if you were to tell people here in our audience, like what's one small thing they could go and do today or tomorrow or next week or in the near future differently, what would it be?
Supporting a creek and watershed.
Wow. We did not pay him to say that. But thank you, Jojo.
No, excellent. Exactly. So it's true. We need to start with our local communities, for create a global impact. Also, what we eat, it's a big responsible of the missions that we put in this planet. So right now, it's possible to, find many ways of how we can transform our diet. Believe it or not, this is one of the major reasons of why we are destroying our planet. We can keep refusing that, but the problem, is like we need to make that change. And something that really inspired myself to do that change has been the leaf cutter ants. I don't know if you have seen those beautiful ants. So
We have them at the Akron Zoo, by the way.
Yeah,
they kind of wig me out a little bit.
Yeah, so I got those guys in my place, and actually they survived 2 mass extinctions of the planet. So they survived basically after the meteorite, destroyed the dinosaurs, and those guys adapt from carnivore ants to become vegetarians and farmers. So, and survive one of the most catastrophic moments of the planet. So that is how we should be. We need to be resilient, but also we need to evolve and adapt to the new challenges that we are facing today. And the diet play a such important role as we can see.
Be a leaf cutter ant. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I took away from that. Thank you. Go ahead, Lane.
So people ask this all the time, right? And I say the main thing you can do is close your eyes and take in a very deep breath. And while you are doing that, think about the fact that 70% of the oxygen coming into your lungs is created through the living systems of the oceans. And the rest of it, the other 25%, is coming through green things, trees, mainly forests. And is there anything more important than that?
True.
Anyway, that's what.
Beautiful.
I passed it off because I don't think rapid fire. I think as an employee of Holden Forests Gardens, I'm supposed to say plant a tree. But this is a room mostly full of practitioners in the environmental space. So I would say listen and be respectful would probably be the number one thing you can do, because just make friends, not enemies, and that's how you're going to do it.
Awesome. Last question, or are there other questions from the audience? Jen.
Elaine's comment about the no victories and for perseverance. So I completely agree with the need for perseverance, but I guess I'd like to hear from the panel on how do you celebrate success? Because that's presumably how we drive motivation for that perseverance.
Well, something that makes me feel like, okay, I have accomplished something beyond the just preserve land and all that, is to see that my team share the same values and spirits of what we are doing. And that is something that is, for me, is the priceless thing ever. It's like I can leave this planet and then I know that everything will be okay because they share the same passion and love what actually I've been loving. So I think that is one of the hardest things in leadership, is that people really believe in our mission, in what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to enhance in our communities. And so something that I have seen so far is I have such a motivated team of young people as well that care so much. And now that I've lived almost 3 months outside of home, I can see what is going on in Costa Rica, and I can see that they are doing everything with so much love. And we got a couple of grants and we've been awards also. So to see them in TV and stuff like that, it's like wow. It's like now I think I can live this planet, and I think my mission has been done. So I think I can accomplish successful and I imagine that word in my brain, seeing my team smiling.
Elaine, how do you celebrate, Elaine?
I say party.
Right, right.
And well, mainly, I really liked your statement on appreciating. That really is the thing that makes what we do different than taking home a paycheck, right? We get to work with the best people in the world. People who are smart, people who care, and people who go ahead and show up. So I think the main way that I celebrate is by making great connections with really wonderful people and appreciating them.
Exactly. Perfect.
I'll finish with this. Back home, what I do is not even related to any of what you do. But on this journey, the last couple of weeks, I've gotten to realize the importance of what you do. And I think for me, that's a success that I will go back, not just award share delivering basic services to people, but with more an open mind of what we need to do to look after our environment, because it's all we got.
It's 11:30. Have time for are there any other questions? There was one more.
For you guys, how important is social media spreading the message?
Oh, yes, I meant to. Jojo, start with Jojo.
Okay, so
you hear about the GoPro camera.
My Facebook name is Jojo So On. And there's a hashtag I told you about soil movements, and everything I post is soil movement. So I've got around 10,000 people following this Facebook page. Last few weeks, I couldn't get on because of two-step authentication, but it has been really important because with the mining prospectus coming in, and we've been trying to get the message out to the young people. We just had a meeting on Sunday, and people, almost 20, 30 people came out. We're trying to set up a youth association to go out and advocate for the environment. So for me, it's one of the best platforms to share the message and get young people interested in, not just on TikTok and all that. So yeah, it's probably one of the biggest mediums currently that we have. I think Jim and I have been trying to help Thinkers Creek boost theirs, and all of you should probably go and follow Thinkers Creek Watershed page too. Thank you.
Okay, so well, I think social media is the responsible of many things, good things and bad things, So the thing is, climate change is together what is happening and what actually Shakira is doing, every single weekend, and we need to, start changing that first, for the real message can spread farther as should be. So we cannot keep going addressing climate change and still, sharing in social media, what is happening with Shakira. So, so it's true. So, but however, social media is an incredible way for we can build it up a community, and actually something that I've been doing. I live in a remote place, so there are not really a lot of people there. So how I can build it up something that can create an impact into my community. I have seen that through social media can become a way of how I can spread the message, and I can get a supportive community of people that cares, even that they are far away. So I've been so far working for create like filmmaking productions in Costa Rica. Luckily, I've been able to get some celebrities to work with us. And so we've been able to work actually with people from Ohio that are working as well together with Animal Planet. So through that, we've been able to share that into social media and get more people that cares about what we are doing. So actually, if everybody want to follow our work, it's possible. We wrote down our social media right over there so everybody can see a little bit more about what we are doing. And actually, we invite you to everybody watch our videos. If you write down Biosphere Foundation, you can see a lot of videos as well, in YouTube. But yeah, I think it can be good, but also there are new things that hopefully we can change in the future.
I think something that is fascinating, I don't know if you necessarily pointed this out or if everybody realized it, but the photographs in your presentation that were taken of insects that are probably like this big or
Yeah.
smaller, you took all of those photographs, right? You kind of specialize in, is it called macro
photography and wildlife photography.
And use of photography like that to tell stories about things that people otherwise don't see or aren't able to see. I mean, you can't even really see that amount of detail just by looking at a bug on a tree, right? To see that level of detail with macro photography, I think is an amazing way to tell your story. I love that.
Exactly. So I've been doing this and promoting that in our region. It's like how we protect insects, how we bring the attention of people to care about a spider. And so luckily we have now technology for do those close-ups that we need and see that universe that is we cannot see it with our own eyes. So actually, I jumped into Tinker Creek and I took some couple pictures of some jumping spiders, and Erica was like, "Oh, they have eyelash." It's so cute, you know. Yeah, I think through this way we can document in a scientific level. So we've been able to photograph a species that never been photographed alive before in the planet, but also help us to show them when still they are alive and how beautiful they are. So it is a way of how we can communicate and engage people, but also people be more aware about that, also that living world that we don't even imagine that exists. So, and how we can connect people with things that, are completely creepy and bizarre sometimes. They're really misunderstood,
Leafcutter ants.
Yeah. Leafcutter ants, there is a new antibiotic coming from the mushrooms of leafcutter ants. So, which is a kind of penicillin that, so that is why I'm saying that we need to keep looking deeper into our nature. The solutions are there in our Mother Earth, and we can build it up completely, our society, if we approach the nature in the most respectful way, but also open our hearts to learn from her, because all the solutions are there. I think it's everything that we have accomplished and build it up as a society and as a species. We inspire ourselves in nature before. Nature has accomplished everything before we create something. And I think that is why it's such important to preserve what we have still left, because we will need it in the future for keep building our own species.
Thank you. Well, you touched on something, Elaine, you mentioned it when we met a couple weeks ago and talking about, and I think it's what we did just here, like, for the future, we need to share our stories, and like just sharing that concept of sharing stories and connecting people with emotion and feeling and things that have happened and how we can learn from them and keep things going forward. Sharing stories, I think, is one of the most important things we can do. So I thank all of you for sharing your stories with us today. And if there's nothing else, I think we are so thrilled you were all able to spend your time with us today and share your stories. And we appreciate you. Thank you. Do you have parting remarks, Erica?
Yeah, I just
Feel it.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yes.
The most important is to remember that all of us, we are related in something together.
Mhm.
That is love. So it's the most, I think, is a feeling that we share between all of us. So we are related in that concept.
You're right, right. Thank you.
Okay, final words. So just listening to everybody, there's no way I could sum up all that you said, but I made a couple of quick notes to just walk away with as you leave. Really think about taking the long view on things and remembering to listen to local perspectives and needs. So shifting your perspective. I know that's happened for us, having two people from the other side of the world come and really share their perspective and thinking about what we do from a completely different lens, and I think vice versa. The power of co-production and collaboration and how important that is. At the same time, remembering to appreciate each other and all the power that we have in the connection as a community of practitioners and a community of just people on this earth who all care about the earth so very much. Remembering to just show up. So I did a PhD, I did a dissertation. It's a pretty terrible process. If you haven't done it, I wouldn't recommend it. But part of the process is just trotting ahead. So it's just putting one foot in front of the other. Bad day, good day. You just have to keep moving forward. And sometimes environmental work is the same way. So just continuing to show up is one of the most important things that you can do. And then being resilient, remembering to make friends and not enemies. And then just, again, those shared values. And then the fact that there is no winning, but there is persistence, and that persistence will carry us forward, and that really is so important. And I think optimism is another piece of that. And I feel like that's something else that I've gotten so much from having these two fellows with us over the last few months is really that optimism. It's just infectious. And so I just want to thank our panelists. I want to thank the U.S. State Department Community Solutions Program for bringing these wonderful fellows to us. I want to thank all of you attendees for coming and listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And then, of course, Davey for helping us to secure this beautiful location to have this event in and hosting today. So if you did sign up for these Seed Campus tours, you should meet
Just out where the coffee and refreshments are.
But otherwise, thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and walk out here with a smile on your face.